Assalamu alaikum. This is Slim bin Muhammad Rafi, and here is your YouTube channel Zamir Universal. Is there anyone who can stop a rogue, a war criminal, Israel from killing babies, from carpet bombing and using thermal bombs and ammunitions which are forbidden, white phosphorus bombs? Is there anyone? Is there no one in the whole world? Is Israel that strong? Is Israel the superpower? Israel is the ultimate and the whole world is covered. Is Israel then going to stay as it is? And the whole world is going to be the slaves of Israelis? What is the matter? Where is the human conscience?
And given these bombings are being done using our tax dollars, perhaps we should ask some questions. For example, how does bombing a densely populated land strip filled 50% with children constitute self-defense? How does bombing hospitals, churches, mosques, and UN schools constitute self-defense? Well, you say if Hamas fighters are hiding in the hospital using the civilians as human shields, okay, let's say they are. Are you arguing that flattening the hospital and killing newborns in their incubators and their moms in the NICU, cancer patients, someone with a broken leg, the doctors, nurses, and just the women and kids hiding in the hospital, that's not a war crime? Because you would be wrong, according to international law. Well, why don't the people in Gaza just turn over Hamas militants to the Israelis? Okay, how do you propose they do that? Hamas is the de facto government in Gaza, and they're the ones with the guns. The leaders of Hamas aren't even in Gaza, and if they were, if you were a teenager living in an open-air prison, getting bombed day and night by, let's say, Mexico, and Mexican police kicked in the door and raided your house anytime they wanted and turned off the water and cut off your food, what are you going to do? Side with them? Help them while you're dying? That's like asking why black folks don't help or trust the police. Okay, but after 9/11, we bombed Afghanistan in self-defense? Yeah, we did. And did that put an end to Al-Qaeda or get bin Laden? No, it did not. Because like Hamas, bin Laden wasn't in the country we were bombing. President Obama got him 10 years later in Pakistan using special forces and without bombing scores of kids to death. Bombing Afghanistan did buy us a 20-year occupation that got us more enemies in the Muslim world when we scooped people up on the battlefield and dragged them off to Gitmo. And when we threw in a gratuitous war against Iraq based on lies by a Bush administration that traded on our anger and our fear, the world rose up against us as we committed torture and tossed former Iraqi police and soldiers into makeshift gulags, and those prisoners later turned into ISIS. Oh, and the Taliban are back in control of Afghanistan. So again, what is the goal of mass bombing Gaza? Is it to find the people Hamas militants abducted on October 7? Okay, how? By flattening whatever shelter they're taking from the bombs? Don't you risk killing them all by bombing them with the Palestinians? Just some relevant questions. And trust me, people do want answers. Over the weekend, protests erupted around the world with hundreds of thousands of demonstrators rallying in cities in Europe, the Middle East, Asia, Copenhagen, Rome, Stockholm, Kuala Lumpur. Scores took to the streets in the U.S., shutting down the Brooklyn Bridge in New York and a major highway in San Francisco. The call in each of these protests was for a ceasefire, a word that for some has somehow come to mean anti-Semitism and a lack of care about those who were brutally killed on October 7th, or even support for Hamas. So how then do you explain the family members of some of those being held by Hamas who are also calling for a ceasefire? And what would a ceasefire even mean? Well, it would literally mean both sides stop shooting. No more rockets into Israel, no more Israeli jets strafing Gaza. It would mean a prisoner swap negotiated by credible third parties, which sadly probably doesn't include us at this point. It would mean getting food, water, and medicine into Gaza and not pushing for 2 million Palestinians to expel themselves to Egypt or Jordan, likely to never be allowed to return. Hopefully, it would mean tamping down the McCarthyism and the doxing and anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and anti-Palestinian racism in our own country and in Europe. And then somebody, anybody, actually working to solve the real problem, which is a 56-year occupation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip that has sparked and will continue to spark vehement and, yes, even violent resistance, whether Hamas exists or not.
Where is the might of President Putin? Where is the might of Chinese president and the Chinese army and Chinese fleet, submarines, aircrafts, tanks, missiles? Where is it, the satellite destroying the Chinese who can destroy in the space the communication satellite, and the whole war, which depends on technology, will come to an end? Your own missiles, your own aircrafts will go berserk, as they won't be able to use their computer, and the global positioning system will not be able to provide them directions which way they are going and to which way the missiles are going to be fired. Why aren't they coming out? That's what is the question. And is there any Muslim country at the moment in the world which can fight and defeat this rogue, illegitimate state? Every possible war crime has been committed by this country. The occupier here has scattered the local population and made their life hell as an open prison and treating them like animals. Where is the conscience of the world? Dead in the grave. See the sarcastic smile on the State Secretary of United States, a Jew, visiting the cruelest person on earth, surpassed Hitler in his cruelty. Instead of using the gas chambers and incinerators, is using the thermal bombs, which destroy the lungs, white forest forests, carpet bombing hospitals, killing babies, killing wounded and injured, stopping water, food and medicine, electricity, power, no ventilators, no automobiles, no food, no water. How dare this small little tiny country can push millions of people out in the desert by force and occupy their homes? What kind of Gundaism, what kind of terrorists is this is? What kind of justice this is? The International Criminal Court should wind up and disappear. So should United Nations Security Council and disappear. Let the might be right. Let those forces rise again and conquer the world. You don't like Islam, you don't like the justice, you don't like just society, you don't care for the rights of the poor, you occupy their homes, kill their women, walk with your shoes in their most sacred place where they worship, stop them from movement, have thousands of roadblocks, and you call that the resist by those people as terrorists? You are the biggest terrorist. So is your illegitimate father, the United States of America, whose money is providing you bombs with which you kill. So the blood of every innocent baby is on the hands of every American and every Israeli, and all those who support these two countries. So, what are those Muslim countries, and which are those Muslim countries which are strong enough to beat Israel? Vacate the occupier, usurper, and give the Palestinian land back to Palestinians by force. And that's the only thing which history has to repeat, like Saladin, that you have to conquer it back.
5 Muslim countries that could defeat Israel. Out of 145 world powers, Israel is ranked number 18 by military strength. 5 hostile powers rank higher. Here they are. 5. Iran. Military strength rank 17. Iran is one of the most populous countries in the Middle East. Thus, it boasts the largest armed forces in the region. Iran has more than 1 million active and reserve personnel. Of course, many of them are relatively under-equipped and under-trained, but quantity also has a quality of its own. Iran has another strength too, an indigenous defense industry. It has been developed over decades to circumvent sanctions. This gives Tehran a crucial advantage. Iran has achieved success in keeping its aging equipment in operation. It has modernized many of its weapons. Iranian combat drones and long-range missiles are pretty good. They're also plentiful, which is equally important. Iran is even developing a hypersonic missile. Tehran also exerts considerable influence in the region. It has armed and trained many militant groups. Hezbollah, Hamas, and others can be a valuable force in a major war. Would Iran attack Israel? Iran has openly called for the annihilation of Israel. It's the biggest military threat Israel faces. 4. Egypt. Military strength rank 14. Egypt is the only country on this list that shares a border with Israel. It's also the only one of the 5 that has gone to war with it. Egypt has the strongest military in the Arab world. It has around 700 combat-ready aircraft. Its personnel numbers stand at a staggering 1.2 million. That's without 300,000 in various paramilitary forces. Egypt has substantially improved its air force and navy in recent years. It has acquired advanced weapons from the US, France, and Russia. The Dassault Rafale multi-role jets are often considered the best in the world. Egypt's airspace is well protected with S-300 and Patriot batteries. Would Egypt attack Israel? Not unless its leadership is overthrown. Egypt and Israel have been closely cooperating since the 1980s. Cairo often mediates between Israel and Palestine. It's also scared to death of Hamas, which is banned in Egypt. 3. Indonesia. Military strength rank 13. Indonesia has a formidable inventory. It's a wide mix of Chinese, Russian, and Western equipment. Indonesia also has a growing defense industry. The government has prioritized it in its plans. Indonesia is closely cooperating with China on infrastructure projects. So the US has bolstered its military links to Jakarta. In 2023, American B-52s trained with Indonesian F-16s. In 2022, a $13.9 billion arms deal with Indonesia was approved. It includes up to 36 F-15 fighter jets. Indonesia is thus kept in check and unlikely to endanger American interests. It's a key nation in Southeast Asia. Would Indonesia attack Israel? No, it wouldn't. The two countries have no diplomatic relations, but they're too far away geographically. Indonesia is more interested in regional dominance. It doesn't want to lose US support either. 2. Turkey. Military strength rank 11. Turkey is one of the most powerful NATO members. The Turkish Navy operates 16 frigates, 12 submarines, and 9 corvettes. Its armor inventory comprises a whopping 2,229 tanks. Turkey has over 1,000 aircraft, including 205 fighters. Its military has 2 satellites in orbit. However, Turkey is still dependent on foreign-made weapons. It beefed up its air defenses with Russian-produced S-400 systems. As a result, the US kicked Turkey out of the F-35 program. Turkey is also involved in the Syrian and Iraqi conflicts. It's backing Azerbaijan against Armenia. Would Turkey attack Israel? Highly unlikely. Turkey has its hands full with all the other conflicts. Plus, it wouldn't risk losing its NATO membership. Instead, Turkey is more likely to support insurgent groups. In fact, it has provided support to Hamas. 1. Pakistan. Military strength rank 7. Pakistan purchased $1.56 billion worth of weapons in 2022. Pakistan has more than 3,700 tanks, 1,400 military aircraft, and 9 submarines. Its forces comprise 654,000 active personnel. The aircraft fleet is not Islamabad's only strength, however. Pakistan operates 6 road mobile ballistic missile systems. All of them are nuclear capable. Pakistan's nuclear arsenal has about 170 warheads. Islamabad has been arming itself at a rapid pace, but this has to do with growing security concerns. Pakistan shares borders with India and Afghanistan. Both countries present potential threats. China has emerged as Pakistan's primary supplier. Would Pakistan attack Israel? No, Pakistan does not recognize Israel. However, it has adopted a much softer stance recently. It didn't criticize Israeli strikes against Gaza. Apparently, Islamabad wants to normalize relations with Tel Aviv. Of course, it's also too far away to meddle in the Middle East.
When you have people who have the army, who have aircrafts, who have tanks, and the 5 countries, a video I am going to play along with this to tell you how much tanks, army, aircrafts they have. What they don't have is the faith, is the courage to challenge a traitor, to challenge a murderer, to challenge a war criminal. And now, after listening to this, listen to the broadcaster, an African American woman, brave enough to spell out what is the resistance and how the Hamas are single-handedly destroying their tanks. And so far they have destroyed their 61 tanks and killed hundreds of those Israeli soldiers. What are you afraid of? I'm really ashamed to call myself even a human, let alone my religion. Let me out and for a moment put it aside. How you do your call yourselves Christians? They crucified your prophet, Christ, and you shake hands with them and supply them billions of dollars to throw bombs on those innocent Palestinian children and kill them. So listen to both these videos and then be ashamed. And if none of these 5 Muslim countries which have strong enough armies, and one of them is the one who even possesses nuclear bomb, and over 170 missiles with nuclear heads. But the cowards are controlled, they are puppets. They are those deep state actors which strings are somewhere else. As long as you get yourself free from those puppeteers and have your independent thinking, how are you going to show your face on the day of judgment and face God in the grave, which will be pitch dark, you will be alone? How are you going to face on the day of judgment when you appear before Almighty Allah and then you justify that you never heard the cries of those babies, the women, the elderly, the wounded? So, if you have any shame, and if you think that your turn will never come, you're living in a fool's paradise. It will be soon enough, and I'm really by name asking these Turkish president. I'm asking the Pakistan army head. I'm asking Indonesian army head. And I'm asking Egyptian army head. What are you waiting for? Why aren't you helping and why aren't you liberating Palestinian suffering? Why are you not hearing the cries of those babies? What wrong have they done? And if you don't, believe you me, soon it will be your turn and you will have to pay through your nose. And that will be a very bloody scene. And the way you are going to then die, the way you are going to be then humiliated, will be worse than besieged Gazans, whom they want to push in the desert so that they can die like an animals without food and water. With these words, I am talking directly to those 5 Muslim countries who are strong enough to defeat, and the man who has been talking and challenging and making all kinds of claims and speeches is Erdogan. He should be ashamed. Where is his leadership? Where is the petrodollar of Mohammed bin Sulaiman and that UAE man and the Qatari person and Bahrain? Where is China? Where is the Chinese fleet? Where are their submarines? Where is Putin? What is he afraid of? Why has he cowed down? Why is he not coming up and now breaking up the monopoly of Americans? Why does it's not protecting and preventing now the hegemony of America, Israel, and his allies over South China Sea? Why is he letting them to destroy the road and belt project of China and CPEC? When you sit like this quietly, then people like that who are occupiers, usurpers, killers, lawbreakers, murderers, baby killers, they are the ones that they will dominate. So the evil will dominate, darkness will prevail over the bright and clear day, clear thinking. So the wrong will take over the right. There will be evil spread all around if you don't wake up now and fight. यूनिवर्सल टेलीविजन को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें, उसके बाद बेल बटन पे क्लिक करें और अपने कमेंट्स के सेक्शन में अपने कीमती जो ख्यालात का इजहार ज़रूर